This time on Outplayed, Flave goes fast, Lursen goes fast, and Errik says, whoa, whoa, whoa. Hey everybody, welcome back to another week of Outplayed. My name is Flave.
And I'm Errik.
And I'm Lursen. And today we are talking about flanks. If you guys remember, about 2 episodes back, we got a question from Teddy, and we finally have an answer for him.
Took us 2 weeks to figure out the answer, apparently.
Yeah. But first, we were invited to play in another tournament by Elmer Fudd. And it didn't go quite as well as last time, but what do you guys think happened?
Our team dynamic was a little bit different. So, Lursen, you and I in the first tournament had Teddy. And Teddy is all about go fast. And we got used to that. This tournament, we had Errik. And Errik is much more intelligent.
Hell, I'm much more about turtle time. That's what you're trying to say. So, I'm not much more intelligent.
Well, what I'm trying to get at is we had a clashing of playstyles. Errik thinks that terminology is a little bit strong. But basically, we got into this habit of playing stupid because we're playing for kills, because that's how the tournament works, is you get 1 point per kill. You get points for a top 3 and points for a win. And we decided previously that we can't win consistently enough at our level for that to be our goal every match, because we didn't want to waste 15, 20 minutes, have a low kill count, and then die as the 4th squad. That's just a huge waste of time because we're allotted 2 hours. And so we have been into this habit of just playing fast and dumb. The problem with that is our shot wasn't on last night. We weren't feeling it, and so, man, that was not the right method.
Well, not only that, but we had 2 guys that were playing fast and dumb, and then a third that was trying to be smart.
You guys gave me way too much credit. I mean, honest to God, it was more like along the lines of, hey, guys, where'd everybody go? Oh, shit, I don't have a gun. Oh, shit, I don't have a shield. You guys are already armored up, gunned up. You've already killed 2 people. Ah, shit. I guess I better catch up to you.
And that is because when we played with Teddy grabs a P-22 and a helmet and just downs 2 or 3 people.
And is on the move. Yeah, and we got used to that because we did a ton of tournament practice. And so I kind of adopted that as my play style. And I kind of think these tournaments aren't the best thing for us getting better. They are fun. I love, the whole training throughout the week. I love, recording on Twitch because I never do that. It's just, if I want to get better at this game, pushing all the time and, being young, dumb, and ugly is not going to work.
Well, yeah, but I mean, there's going to have to be a mix of it, right? It's not all about just trying to go in and be aggressive, but it's also not just about watching the situation either. I mean, I one of the things that I like to do, and I've had some pretty good success with a couple of the other members of our community doing it. With Metal and Alex. Thanks for being there with me, guys. We'll post up sometimes and we'll watch. And it's not about lack of aggression. It's more about trying to gather more information. And this is something I've said a lot. And I guess the challenge is, right, well, how much information is enough and when is it too much and it just ends up getting you killed because you've been sitting around waiting for something to happen. And I still haven't found that good mix yet. But I know that, traipsing along behind you guys, it can be a little frustrating for me personally sometimes. You guys are go, 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 and I'm about 75 to 100 meters behind you. And that's, at this stage, I kind of feel like I got to get good scrub a little bit. I got to speed up so I can catch up.
I mean, that's not necessarily the answer, though, because all 3 of us even running face first into the unknown isn't exactly a great idea. I mean, we've been caught with our pants down more than once, jumping over a wall, and then I land on top of a Bangalore's head, and then we kind of stare at each other, and then the shit hits the fan.
Yeah, or I was down a couple times thirsting somebody because I'm like, I can't let this point go. I have to kill this person. And that's not the smart way to play. The smart way to play is to down that person, immediately try to figure out where the rest of their team is, and don't worry about that person except to keep them in the back of your mind so if a res happens, you know where they're at.
The same thing happened to me beginning of the game. I downed somebody, and then I kept shooting them to finish them off to get the point, and then I realized, oh fuck, I'm out of ammo. So I was completely left out to dry because there were 2 more people coming at me, and I didn't have any weapons.
Well, all right, let's go ahead and do a little story time here. You guys remember that time that we came up over the hill was it over by Skulltown maybe? I don't know. The supply ship was in the air and it already had its moorings down, right? So there were the zip lines already keeping it down there. And I was about 50, I was probably like maybe, I don't know, about 10 seconds behind you guys. Lursen, you were off and to the left from my perspective, and Flave, you were already on the zip line headed up. And as soon as you hit the platform up at the top, we heard gunfire. And you're like, "Wah!" You know? So at that stage, it was like, not ironically, you had just said, and here's where we're going to die, you know? So that's the only thing I remember. And it's, again, no fault for you to go up the zip line, no fault for Lursen to be, you know, down on the ground still trying to get up onto the zip line, and no fault for me to be, you know, kind of lagging behind. But at the same time, we didn't take that half a second pause to figure out, okay, Flave's going to make entry. Lursen's going to provide overwatch as he goes up, and then he's going to be second man in, and then either I'm going to stay on the bottom to pick up stragglers as they fall off, limply, or I'm going to, be third guy in. You know, we just didn't take that half second to do that. And I think that's where I'm having a little bit of frustration when I play with you guys, because that's something that when I do have that when I play with, for instance, Alex and Metal, we'll take a second, and figure out. Of course, on the other end, the other night, we spent about 5 minutes watching some guys from a distance. So there's, sometimes there's too much information.
I'll give you my perspective on that play. I was running up first because I was Pathfinder, and I'm using grapple on cooldown, so I'm always ahead. I was watching the ship the entire time I was running up to it, saw no movement. I hate the ship. I hate being around the ship, and that's why I said, this is where we die. So my thought was, there's no movement. Maybe no one's up there. I think I'm safe. I'm going to hit this so I can get high ground to survey the rest of it. I hit that zip. I'm staring at 2 of them. I was able to down 1, but at that point it didn't matter. So I feel like my process was right individually, but I should have waited for the rest of the team. That would have worked out a little bit better.
Well, I think, but that's not what I'm saying, man, because you did it. You saw, you had already assessed the situation, and I think you even said as you came over, it's like, I see nobody, right? So at that stage, it makes sense to just hit it and do the high ground, like you're saying.
If I remember right, it's because they were inside the ship. Mm-hmm. So when we looked at the top of the ship, we didn't see them, but when you came through, the zip line leads to the middle of the ship, so that's when you hit them.
I'll tell you one thing that I have been doing with Pathfinder is if I do find myself in that situation, I will shoot my own zipline to the top because, they're expecting me to use the provided ziplines and are looking there. At the very least, if I zip myself up to the top, I'll usually hear footsteps and immediately bail or at least look down that little hole, shoot some people. That way. I didn't do it in that situation. Maybe it was on cooldown. I don't remember, but I should have.
You know what? We should probably have a training room on how to deal with that ship, because it always seems to be my downfall, because I'm either on the ship trying to have high ground and shooting people below, and then people zip up behind me because it's got the 4 access points, and then Pathfinders can just go wherever, apparently, because, fuck them. But then, on the flip side, there's another team on the ship shooting down at me, and I don't like that either, so I don't quite know how to deal with the ship.
Yeah, that's why I made that statement of, this is where we die.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Yeah, we have been having a lot of difficulties. And again, this was not a situation where anybody did anything wrong per se. I don't think we did, because we organically had already developed what the I guess it's like, I guess we're going to ship now. We had organically decided what our strategy was going to be. We even had the tactics down because you made entry first by going up the zip, right? And the known information we had was there doesn't appear to be any movement. The only way to really tell is when you get up there. Now, I guess we could have done a probing grenade on the second level, but then you're just wasting a grenade if there's nobody there, right? So again, we don't necessarily have the answer here. I'm just saying it was a situation where you guys would go fast and I was ready to pause for a second, and neither solution was the good one, right? Like pausing this for a second wouldn't have done shit for us at that point.
So I think what we've discovered here is that neither way is the right or wrong way. It's just the entire team has to be agreed on which direction you're going to do.
Bingo. That's exactly why I brought it up. It was like, again, I'm trying to keep up with you guys, but again, that's a little bit on me to try to draw that out of you, because you guys have been playing together a little bit longer than I've been playing with you in this particular game. So you sort of have developed that relationship that Flave and I had in Battlefield, where it's unspoken. You know, you guys already knew what you were doing, and I was still playing a little bit of catch up. So again, maybe you're right. Maybe taking that just a little bit of second to lay out the plan and to make the attack. That'd be the way to go.
Yeah, that you are right. We don't have to say what we're doing anymore because we have 4, maybe 5 drop locations that we go through every time. We rarely mix that up, and we know exactly what we're going to hit, who's going to hit it, where we're going to convene, and where we're going to push to next. We don't say anything. We just do it and go. And that's probably why you're feeling like you're a little bit behind, because we have already developed this. We didn't always move this fast. It took, probably at least a month to develop these pathways that we just know we're going to take.
Yeah, I mean, when we drop wastewater or
water treatment.
What is it? Water treatment. Yeah. When we drop water treatment, we know that we're going to loot it, fight the team if they're there. Then we're going to go off to the right, and about halfway,
always throw us a zip to that
once
town.
we get past that second drop location, you're going to fire that zip. We'll go to that other town, and once we loot that town, we're going to hit the zip up to Overwatch.
Yeah, and all of that is unspoken. We all just do it.
And if the circle's on us, we're going to jump off of Overwatch and hit that balloon. It's pretty much the circle.
Yeah, well, I will say that, and I do know now that I have very limited time to do any sort of prep before we're already having to hit that zip up to Overwatch, because every single time we hit that little, a couple set of buildings right there, if I hit that bin, you guys are already up on the halfway across the zip line. So it's like, all right, I'm not going to hit the bin anymore. Fuck it. Yeah. We're going.
Yeah. I hit that main building and I sit and I wait at the zip line. And as soon as Flave hits that back building, he says go. And we both zip at the exact same time.
Yep.
I think you did that telepathically, because I have never yet once heard Flave say go.
I see him jump in front of me. And,
I don't say go. I hit the little shed back there that always has a Mozambique and light ammo, and then he knows that's the cue to go.
Yeah. So that's the one at least I know. I already know how to anticipate what y'all are doing, and I already know that if we hit slums, by the time we get to the end where there's like the back town or whatever that is, we're already going to go run off. So you guys are training me, all right.
Well, we did mix in that we'll hit small town if the circle's already on runoff.
Don't be messing with the playbook, man. I'm just starting to learn, hut 2. I don't need to be learning hut 26.
It's surprising how much good loot is in that little town behind runoff.
Yeah, the 3 buildings.
So I guess the takeaway then is basically take a minute to pause and make sure that you either organically, because you're telepathic, or we've communicated what the course of action is going to be for the next, whatever engagement we're going into, if at all possible. Am I picking up on that?
That's one takeaway. The other takeaway is there are different playstyles, and the correct one is a mix of those playstyles. It depends on situation. And what we've been failing to do is to correctly assess the situations and apply the correct one. So that's where we need to just be better. So I proposed to the guys before the show, we've been playing fast. Let's take some time to go slow. That's also not going to be correct, but we'll at least get better at it and be able to identify the situations in which it is correct. And then we can start playing with the mix.
Yeah, absolutely. So long as we remember that going slow doesn't mean lack of aggression and passivity. It just means, taking a moment. So
yeah.
So it doesn't really matter what the play style, but everyone has to be agreed upon it.
So, yeah, that's the third takeaway. 3 takeaways.
All right, man. Well, I feel like this is a really great training room, so let's go ahead and take a break.
It was designed with pride and perfected over generations. To be the best. To be more than just another gun. But the times have changed. And now it goes unloved and unwanted. Hi, I'm Jonathan Mosenbeek, and I want to talk to you about the Mosenbeek Foundation. The Mosenbeek Foundation is a group dedicated to restoring this once great gun to its former glory. We are collecting volunteers to band together and collect these forgotten heroes that on a daily basis are just left on the ground or tossed aside at the slightest hint of something that, sure, it holds more rounds. And yeah, does double the damage. But does it have the heart or the passion? No. Don't turn your back on the Mosenbeek, because it would never do that to you. When you hit the ground and you find yourself scared, unarmed, and all alone, the Mosenbeek will be there for you. When your preferred weapon runs out of ammo, the Mosenbeek will be there for you. And now, the Mosenbeek needs you to be there for it. Please, we're just asking you for a little bit of your time, and some of your skill. We need you to pick up a Mosenbeek and use it. Kill a few enemies with it. Make it look easy, and then clip that. Show it off. Tell everyone you know that it can be done. And more importantly, you can look badass doing it. Once word gets around that the Mosenbeek is a viable and amazing weapon, then maybe people will start to carry it. And once again, the Mosenbeek will be restored to a place of honor that it deserves.
All right, we are back, and before we get into the main topic, I wanted to give a little shout-out. Outplayed may seem to be just the three of us, but that's not actually the case. We actually have a team behind us, helping us the entire way. And so, Domino's is our media manager. He's the one with the Twitter fingers. He's keeping us gathering followers and getting new listeners. His help is much appreciated. Our buddy Fugly88, we always do a shout out to him. Just musical mastermind. The show would sound way less professional without him. And then recently we have brought on our buddy Archimedes, and his work hasn't actually been published yet, but we're bringing him on to do some articles. He's kind of like the staff writer, so we're going to have some op-ed pieces and stuff like that on the website. And we're also going to be doing episode summaries. And so we're just kind of expanding this thing's. We want it to be bigger than it is currently. And to do that, we need help. And these guys are best of the best.
Relentless improvement.
Super excited to have them on with us.
But that puts us into our main topic.
Yay!
As Lursen said earlier, we're actually going to address the question Deadly Teddy posed to us a couple episodes. To remind you guys, his question was, many FPS games have mechanics that reward lone wolfing and flank-heavy playstyles. Do you think that Apex is one of them? If so, when is it appropriate to flank instead of staying tightly grouped? Well, thanks for the question,
Yoicks.
First off. And
Yoicks.
to be completely honest with you, we're still figuring that out because the speed of Apex and the movement abilities make it different than most other games, and especially from mine and Erik's previous FPS was Battlefield. You have no special movement abilities, so flanks are a little bit different there.
Yeah, the big, huge movement ability in BF5 was you can run while crouched.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so this question actually breaks down into 3 parts, right? So basically question 1, Teddy, you may not have realized this, but you probably did because you're a smart guy. Does the game reward or punish lone wolves? Question 2 is, when is it appropriate to flank? And question 3, when is it appropriate to stay tightly grouped? That's how I broke that question down.
Okay, addressing the first one, I don't think Apex supports lone wolfing. At least not outside the top 1% of players. You can watch Shroud and Dizzy go off on their own. Although Shroud is a very good team player, if you guys haven't noticed.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he really is.
Yeah, but he does have the ability to just lone wolf and wipe an entire squad by himself. But for all of our, normal people out there, including us, I don't think it's a viable strategy. It's just there's too much stacked against you. So Apex is designed as a squad game. It's the first battle royale that drops you as a squad. It has the ping system, and it even the call outs each character makes, like, hey, I'm reloading here. Like
right, yeah.
The whole game is designed around the squad dynamic.
Well, as far as I know, it's the only one that doesn't have a solo mode, isn't it?
Yeah, you're right.
I'm gonna say yeah, but
I played all of them, and I don't remember ever having to play with a team before.
Yeah, the only one I don't know about is Realm Royale, because I never played that one at all.
No, I played solo.
Okay. Yeah, so I think I agree with you, Flave. This game really doesn't support lone wolfing. I mean, there are moments to do lone wolf, but like, let's take, for instance, what happened to the guy, this poor Pathfinder the other night. We were down towards the end of the cycle, and the last circle or whatever, and this guy thought he'd get clever and lone wolf on us while his two boys, distracted us. I heard him, I turned around, called it, and all three of us spun and just melted his ass. So, maybe that wasn't a very effective lone wolf tactic, but if all three of us are constantly doing it, you can't really just go out and be, one for yourself. You got to be one for all.
He definitely tried to catch a longbow bullet with his teeth. It did not go well.
Exactly.
It is one of the funniest things to see a Pathfinder mid grapple take a bullet to the face and just like ragdoll down a hill.
Just
because you keep your momentum in this game. Oh, it was great.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it's like, I think at this stage we have to agree that maybe it doesn't support lone wolfing in the traditional sense, but there may be a different way to define this a little bit. If we think about the team itself as kind of almost like a lone wolf, not really. It's more about how do you establish the flank? Who gets to go out and be by themselves? And if that person's capable of it, I guess at that stage I'd kind of call them a lone wolf. It's just they're actually working for the squad.
And then let's just look at bullet damage. There are some hard hitting weapons in this game. Peacekeeper, for example, I'm not great with it, but I get lucky every once in a while, hit somebody for 110, Yeah, even if you are a fantastic player and can normally, 2v1 or 3v1, then you're going to have that guy that gets lucky, hits a couple wingman headshots, hits that Peacekeeper, hits for 130 something on the triple take. It's just going to happen. Even if you're doing all the good movement stuff, and you're hitting your shots, it doesn't matter. Man, there's some weapons that just hit way hard in this game.
I mean, you told me about the triple take, and I stole that from you, and now I'm running with the Prowler. If you have a Prowler with the select fire and any kind of mag extension, you can down a full health purple armored character in half a clip. It is ridiculous at close range, and you want to run up a full squad of people with 3 of those? You've got to be kidding me if you're thinking you're going to lone wolf that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like lone wolfers only survive the early game, if they're going to survive. Maybe they pick up a Peacekeeper and they push a team that doesn't have armor yet and they all have alternators. Sure, lone wolf it up. But you get to mid-game, you get to late game, man, you're screwed, dude.
Well, I think it's definitely there that okay, so the guns and everything else, it punishes you for lone wolfing. But I think on the other side, does it reward anybody for lone wolfing? No, man. There are no banners. There's no stats. There's nothing that says, hey, man, go out and lone wolf, right? There's no encouragement in any sort of progression system to lone wolf it in this one. But there are banners for stats. There are banners for team play,
I will say, there was a time where Flave, myself, and Archimedes were the very last circle, and there was one person left alive on the other team. She wasn't necessarily lone wolfing, but she was a wraith, and she was way better than any one of us by ourselves.
That was with me. I was with you on that one. I remember that wraith. Oh,
okay,
yeah.
So
I remember she was a slippery wraith. So that was
every
awesome.
time we would get her to half health, she would disappear, and we would have no idea where she went. But we kept trying not to chase her, and we kept, every time somebody would like leave the one room, we're like, no, come back. She cannot take us if we're all three together. But anytime one of us would stray, she would almost down us. But we ended up getting that win because we did not split, and she could not take all of us at the same time.
All right, well, I think that really settles it. I mean, it is possible to lone wolf, but you're not going to have the type of success unless you can post up someplace and then really just, you've got the strategic advantage. And at that point, why are you lone wolfing? Why aren't you there with your team with that strategic advantage? Why don't we talk a little bit about flanking now, though? Because I think that's the other part of the question, right? Does this game, is it a flank-heavy game or not, basically? What do you guys think?
Yes. But there are a couple different ways to define flank. You've got a flank within your squad, so maybe one person, peels off and goes on a flank, and then you've got full squad flanks. The third team in, always a thing, always something we have to consider. But the answer to both of those is yes. Flank.
Yeah. Well, I think you're right, man, and I'm glad you brought up that about the different natures of flanks, because I think most of the times when we think about flanks, we almost inherently think about them in terms of lone wolfing. You're going to send somebody out. But I think the more that we think about it, this game, it encourages us to stay together. It encourages us, let's be frank, to be a third team in. And it also encourages, just by the nature of its movement mechanics, to do this type of flanking stuff. I mean, let's face it, you got a Pathfinder on your team, you're going to be able to flank. You got a Wraith on your team, you're going to be able to flank. You got an Octane with a jump pad. Yep, probably going to be able to flank. Right?
Bloodhound with his beast mode, he's going to be able to flank.
Right, exactly. So there's definitely opportunities in this game to adjust your positions. So I think we can definitely say that the game encourages flanking because, let's just face it, that's just good gameplay, right?
Yeah. I mean, standing in a line and shooting might not be the best idea.
Yeah, the firing squad stuff doesn't seem to work out too well for folks. Yeah, so I think let's talk a little bit about what it is flanking, though, and we can double down on some of Flave's comments about the different types of flanks. But I think the first thing we should talk about is maybe the 5 different elements of a good flank that we've identified.
I feel like this is a pattern with us. We kind of just break things down into 5 different points.
5's the magic number, man.
But why don't you hit us with that first one again?
Well, we had 7, but we got it down to 5.
That's true. We usually have, these are the 10 perfect points. No. No one wants to hear 10 different points. Let's try 5.
Right. So we'll go with 5. So for number 1, you got to figure out what is the goal of the flank. And in Apex, unlike in other games where there may be multiple objectives for it, I would have to say that the goal of any flank in Apex is to just kill everything. Kill everybody.
Yeah, I mean, the point is to be the last man standing. The best way to do that is to remove the other men's.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, it's really, in some ways you can think about it. You could think that you're going to flank to gain the advantage of where the circle's going next or where you are currently within the circle. But I think, Flave, you were bringing up earlier, that's really more about the late game, right? At the beginning of the game, you're not really trying to adjust position within the circle. You're just trying to kill all the mans.
Yeah, exactly. You only have to take that into consideration whenever the circle is absolutely tiny. You're trying to get, better position for that final fight, stuff like that.
Yeah, that first 2 circles, they don't do enough damage to really be annoying. It's those last couple that will really take away your health. So you don't want to get caught out in them, especially when you've already taken damage from the fight and then the circle hits you and finishes you off. That really pisses me off.
So I get, yeah, exactly. But I think so that just exacerbates what's already in the game, right? That just makes it more apparent, I guess. Really what we're talking about when we're trying to gain the advantage of position in the circle is just gain position advantage, right? We want to adjust where we are, especially for the third team or even the fourth team in. We want to be able to adjust our stuff, bring strategic advantage to ourselves. rather than be subject to whatever it is that they're doing. So got to, gain the high ground. We got to move around through buildings, in any way we want them not to be necessarily looking at us, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Well, now that we all agree that was correct, let's go to point number 2. It's not a flank if the enemy watches you do it. It's just running a route.
Yes, you don't want them to be staring at you. So what you want to do is set up a distraction, right? But usually that means that if you're the third team, it's usually the other team providing the distraction. But are there other ways that we can set up distractions?
So many.
So many.
We could list them all, but that would take quite a long time.
You got a grenade? You got a distraction.
I mean, the most simple is just having the other two people on your team firing at them.
Hey.
But just whatever it is, I mean, if they're focused on a care package coming in, a lifeline package coming in, I said in our previous episode, I like to drop lifeline packages in the middle of the fight. People don't know what's happening. I mean,
oh man, I did that the other day. That was a great idea, dude. I actually did that last night. Well, of course my drops suck, so we didn't get anything out of it, but I still did it.
My favorite distraction is using one of my down teammates as bait and waiting for the other team to run past me, and then I shoot them in the back.
Oh, that's just so right.
I think Flave has finally figured that out to where he stops crawling towards me. I made Damo a little confused the other day where he's like crawling towards me. I'm like, no, stay out there in the open. He's like, wait, what? Like, just stay there. And then, enemy team ran at him. They were all kind of teabagging or just kind of punching him to death. And I shot them all in the back of the head.
So the other thing you can do is you can just have them be distracted by whatever it is that they were doing anyway, right? If you come up on a team and you see them, I don't know, if you take a half a second to assess the situation and you see them, they're all looting and stuff. Well, you know that's the distraction right there.
That was a dig at us, Lursen.
Ouch.
No, but if you see they're all like hanging out and looting and stuff and they're walking through buildings and things like that, well, that's your distraction right there. And what you want to do is avoid being seen. No shit. Well, you want to use cover. So if that means you're moving building to building or if that means you're moving ravine to ravine, that's what you're going to want to do. The last thing you want to do is to start taking bullets on your so-called flank. So the other thing we can do is split up our team, right? Although,
yeah, that's probably the most popular one.
Right. But, somebody's going to die.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you split up the team and the other team sees you do it, then they're going to push the one person or the two people. And while the flanker is adjusting position, it's going to be a 3v2 or 3v1. So
yeah, this is where you have to decide what are you going to do. Are you going to leave one behind to be the distraction and you're going to take two on the flank, or are you going to leave two behind to be the distraction and send one out on the flank? That seems pretty situation dependent, right?
It's based on the character selection of your team, and it's also based on the skill level of the individual people in your team. I've said before that our buddy Teddy has this ability to not die when engaging 2 or 3 people. I really like putting him first. He is the distraction and coming around behind him because chances are he's still alive. He may be backed off at that point trying to, get a heal or whatnot, but he's still up. And I'm able to do some work at that point.
We had a pretty good play, you and I, Flave, where you engaged in a long-range, not really sniper fight, but a longer-range fight. And because it was a Gibraltar on a roof, was so intent on trying to out-snipe you, I was able to use my beast mode, run all the way underneath his building, climb the stairs, and jump through the hole in the roof. And then I was just standing behind him while he was scoped in on you. And thanks to that prowler I was talking about earlier, completely destroyed him. And then his team all turned on me, giving you time to then push.
Yeah, that's a big part. I'm glad you said that. Of a flank is you have to know exactly when to flank, when to push up. The timing has to be right. I think I put this lower in the notes somewhere, but it's pertinent here. If you have a delayed flank to where you're too late getting there, that's not a flank either. That's a 2v3 followed by a 1v3.
It's just not a flank. Yeah. Well, and that timing bit is the other bit. So sometimes it's going to take the time. It's going to take a while for your flanking group to get around to wherever your kill box is. And again, you want to start thinking about this stuff in terms of kill boxes, right? Obviously, wherever the team is that you're flanking on, that's the kill box at the moment. But you may also want to push them into another kill box as well. Maybe you want to drop a grenade on their ass so that you either attract their attention or you push them to where you want them to go, and you give the time for your flanker to get there. And then at some point, your flanker has to say, ready, go, basically something along those lines. And that's when the attack should happen. And an ideal flank is where you're going to be in a sort of a pincher, right? You're going to pinch these guys. And it doesn't mean that your distraction should just be sitting there taking bullets in the face either. A good distraction is going to be somebody who's mobile and keeping the attention.
So I think you mentioned it there. The best flank is one that you've already started the flank and are in position before the other team knows you're there. So they're looting boxes or they're getting that airdrop, and you start flanking before the other two people engage, and then right as they're engaging, the other team turns, and that is when your flanker pops out and starts firing.
Yep. And that's an ideal situation for a split team. But I think the other thing is we were talking about where you take the entire team on a flank. Well, timing is still super important there as well. You still got to have the distraction, and you still got to have the timing. You guys got to figure out how you're going to post up to be able to be the most effective for the flank. Because a flank doesn't necessarily mean just jumping in, right? Once you get into position. It could mean that you spread out.
I will say that the downed and kill feed at the top of your screen is your best friend when you're trying to do a full team flank. If you see the big fight in front of you, if you watch that feed, it'll say 1 person down, 2 people down, 3 people down. Then you know that the other teams, both teams are losing people. Then you see all 3 of them die, then you know one of the teams is completely gone.
I'll agree with you there that is a useful tool, but they could make it more useful. In Battlefield, you were able to control that feed. So you could set it to all. There was another option that I forget, but you could also set it to nearby. That was your best friend. So it only told you within the radius that was pertinent when people were going down. I don't need to know if somebody across the map just died. I really wish they would bring that to Apex.
I do too, man. I miss that. And so much so that I don't even pay attention to the kill feed anymore. And, Lursen, you're bringing up that I probably should pay attention to it a little bit more.
I will say I pay more attention to it the later the game goes, because I know that that is the only fight happening right now.
Okay, so that's a really good point. Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense.
Stop making good points. You're stupid.
I'm sorry. I ran out of beer at the tournament, and now I've got all my brain cells, and it sucks.
All right, so basically, when you've done the distraction thing. We've established what we're going to try to do. Obviously, Apex, we got to kill all the mans. That was the first element. Second element is establish your distraction. Make sure that the distraction sticks long enough for your flanker to get into position, or for you to get, as the flanking squad, into position. There's a third element. Don't shoot when you got nothing to shoot with. Got to do a gear check, man.
I have a bad habit of just being slightly below full health or full shields, and you guys are always quick to point out, hey, Flave, top off before we get in this next fight. Just, man, sometimes 1 point, 5 points, 10 points of damage will make the difference in a fight. So just do a gear check, make sure you're full health, and then Lursen, I can't tell you how many times that I have been spectating you after I was down, and I'm like, that gun's not reloaded. He's gonna die.
Yeah, you've saved my life so many times, because I always, rather than reload, I'll switch weapons, because I know that my second weapon is usually my finisher weapon. So it's either a shotgun or a fully automatic gun versus my sniper rifle. So I'll usually take a couple of shots with my triple take and then try to finish them off with 301. Or take a couple shots with my 301 and then pull out my Peacekeeper. But I always forget to reload when I switch back.
Yeah, I mean, it's a super obvious point, but I guarantee you, all of us are guilty of it, of trying to engage in a fight, and there's just something that you needed to do before then.
Oh, check that you've changed your select fire.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for instance, that's a big one.
Yeah. How many times have we said, forgot to change it? Yeah.
Well, so the other thing is, it's okay, you can do the gear checks on your own. Obviously, if you're a solitary flanker or if you're flanking with a team, you can check your own gear. But one of the other parts about this gear checking stuff is that you're checking each other, right? Hey, I got 2 thermites, or we got a couple arc stars. How are we going to hit this one? We're going to hit it with grenades first, or we're not, Or, it's not just watching either other's health, it's also about what kind of kit you got.
That's a really good point. The other day we had a fight to where it was getting pretty late game. We were in one of the caves. We had a team that was on the other side, about to come through a small point. And Archimedes said, hey, I've got a ton of grenades. Who needs them? I had 0 grenades, so he dropped me some. And, we just started junking. And that was fantastic because he couldn't use all the grenades he had. I had none, so we were able to double our firepower just by him saying, I've got a ton, who needs some?
Yeah.
It was super clutch. Bada boom?
Yes, exactly.
Another one of my favorite gear checks is if you have a Bangalore and a Bloodhound on the same team. I usually play Bangalore, and Flave used to play Bloodhound, and I would always, hey, you have your super? Great, I'm going to fill this thing with smoke.
Absolutely.
Other than that, I will say, part of the gear check, your one guy who is flanking, let's try to give him the best armor.
Oh, yeah, good call.
Sure.
Of course, when was the last time you actually gave somebody your armor? You're like, I got purple, bitch. What you got?
The other day, I gave you my purple armor so that I could raid form and grab the purple armor out of a package. So don't call me out.
Wait a minute. That's not giving up your purple to get. Now, I will say that I have given up the purple to somebody else because I know they're going to be the ones in first, right? Because I know I'm going to be lagging behind, so I'm cool with blue for the most part.
Give the flanker, the guy who's going to be by himself, give him his purple armor.
And beyond that, just make sure the flanker has the weapons for the position. If you're used to being a flanker and you're wanting to move in close, but you've only picked up a longbow and a triple take, maybe somebody else needs to flank this time.
Or do a little weapon swapping. The other day, you had that exact loadout, and I had a 99 and a Peacekeeper. So I'm like, well, this works out because I'll just take your longbow and I'll give you my triple or 99, and we'll both have good weapons.
Yeah.
Share and share alike. Are you a team or are you a team? Absolutely.
I'll say the last thing for the gear check is making sure everyone has batteries and med packs.
Mm-hmm.
So
good one.
I know a lot of times I'll have 0 grenades, but I'll have 6 med packs, and then just kind of share them out for everybody. And that guy's got a whole bunch of batteries. All right, we're all ready. Let's go.
And that brings up something that we haven't really been doing too much as a general rule, right? We don't typically distribute a lot of our gear amongst one another unless it gets down towards kind of closer to an emergency, right? Hey, I need a med pack. Anybody got a med pack? Well,
I yell that every 3 seconds.
Right, exactly, right?
Flave knows from playing with me a lot that I'm always out of med packs.
Yeah, so I think if we could probably get a little better at that. It's like, hey, I got six shield cells, or 6 or 5 batteries, right? And come on, let's face it, you really only need like maybe 3 batteries at most. So, share the joy.
I would disagree with that. I agree with the sentiment, but I will take, if they drop 3 points of my purple armor, I will go behind a rock and I'll pop a battery. And then I will go back into the fight.
Wait, a whole battery?
Or a whole battery for 3 of us?
I'll pop a whole battery and then get right back in
You son of a bitch.
I'm going to be giving you I'm going to be giving you my cells from now on. I'm taking the fucking battery.
I'm going to take one bite out of this king-size Hershey bar and throw it away.
Well, I mean, I can pop 3 cells or 1 battery.
You said...
Oh, I see what you mean.
You said
3.
3 points. 3 points of my purple armor.
Oh, now I get you.
You're talking about bars.
Man.
I thought you were talking about actual HP off of it.
No, come on.
Okay. I was going to say, you're a selfish man that I didn't even know.
I take 1 bite of this cake and I'm throwing the rest away.
No, and I'm going to pee on it for everybody else. So,
I break out my armor to 4 points. Yeah. All right.
See, that makes a lot of sense. Okay. Whew. All right. Speaking of 4
All right,
points, let's
now
go
that
to
we're
point
friends
4.
again.
Yeah, right.
Number 4.
Number 4. All right. So you got to figure out where the line of battle actually is. Sometimes you're going to be flanking. If you're flanking and you're going away from where everything is, that's not a fucking flank. That's running away. So know where the line of battle actually is.
Yeah, with this is when you run a flank and you pop out behind the wall and you shoot the 2 guys in the back of the head. And you're like, yeah, I'm in the best. And then, oh wait, their guys behind you. You popped out in the middle of their team. So if you know where that line of battle is, sometimes you have to go on a slightly longer flank or just wait a couple seconds for the full team to pass by.
And sometimes you can do this correctly and it doesn't matter just because of the movement abilities. I mean, you can grapple all the live long day. Like, you can go so far with a grapple.
Yeah.
And so sometimes, you see where that Pathfinder is, you do your flank, that Pathfinder's way behind you. So, it's a little bit more difficult in Apex than it is in other games.
Agreed.
Agreed. So just as long as you remember that the point of a really good flank is to surround your enemies and not get surrounded. I don't know which one of you clever bastards wrote that in the notes, but I love it. So
I have I'm going to call back to an episode from Sufficiently Afflicted. If you try to flank and end up between 2 teams, that's not a flank. That's a sandwich.
Bingo. Well, that one's pretty easy, though. But there is some nuance in being able to figure out where the line of battle in Apex is because of the movement speeds, though. So really, that's where the ping system is going to be vital. Just because you're out, even if you're flanking as a team, you got to sort of keep attention on, keep talking to one another about where the sounds are coming from, keep pinging, wherever anybody else is. The ping system allows for a lot more flexible spotting than any of the other games I've had. So make use of it. Absolutely.
It does get a little more complicated when you're doing the full team flank. When you're trying to find the line of battle between 2 whole teams, when everyone's grappling around and octane jumping, it can be a little more difficult. So I would suggest flanking so that your back is to the storm, so that a different team who is trying to flank the same fight doesn't end up behind you.
Yeah.
I also have the point of, there have been several times to where we've done a full team flank and we picked the wrong team to flank. The team that we picked absolutely decimated the other team and then turned on us, and they all have 5,000 kills. We're like, damn.
Well, that's just the luck. That's just the luck of the draw. That's just going to happen.
It is, but that's also a point in which we could slow down, like you want to do, and maybe see who's downed.
Oh yeah, well, that's a good point. Also, I wanted to go back to that. That's a good point, and the reason I want to go back on something else we said earlier was because not knowing where the line of battle is, a lot of times it feels like just due to all the movement, especially once it gets into the buildings areas where there's like the little towns, Skull Town, for instance, or what have you, we may just have to say, well, that's the line of battle, that entire clump of buildings. We have no idea where anybody really is, but we know that we got to get around there and get up behind these guys. So that may be enough to establish the line of battle, too. It doesn't have to be a specific line.
I'm going to put a nerdy way of thinking about this forward. In each game, each character has an effective radius around them to where this character can move in this area very quickly. In Apex, it's wider on a base level, and then depending on character, it gets even wider. And so you have to take that into consideration with your flanks.
Good point.
You just have to be way more mindful and way more aware. You have to listen to those audio cues. If you hear that grapple, then that Pathfinder that you knew where he was, he's no longer there, or you hear a zip, stuff like that. And that's a little bit difficult when there's gunfire going on, everything's going on, and especially if you're like me and your fight or flight triggers. I said in a previous episode, one of the hallmarks of fight or flight is that your the amount of sounds that you hear, it narrows, and so I'll find myself just completely out of position a lot of times in a flank, and so I've found myself turning down my party chat and turning up my game audio whenever we're in a fight. And luckily, I've got the M80 mixer, and I can do that very quickly. And then when we're out of fight, I'll turn chat back up. But
Yeah, because you really want to be able to hear if you're pushing a team in caves and you hear someone go beast mode. Well, you can pretty much guarantee that they're coming from the other side of the caves.
I was just thinking about this beast mode stuff as you were talking about the effective radius for movement, and I was just thinking, if that guy pops beast mode, I know exactly where he was. And it gets me back to one we had last night where I was up on top of the building down in, I think it was in artillery, but I'm not sure. It's one of those areas where there's tall buildings, and we heard this guy pop his beast mode down there, and it was immediately, we were all able to flank him. We just pinched him and beat the shit out of him. And
the story I just told was something that actually happened. We were fighting in caves, and we saw the Bloodhound leave and pop beast mode, and I called it out. So we all ran away from the first fight and pushed around the corner, and he came around and saw all three of us lined up on him, and we instantly downed him. So we were back to 3v2.
So that character, they've got some pretty heavy breathing. Maybe they need to tone it down a little bit.
Or the initial use of it, the noise he makes, just the radius that makes, just tone that down a bit, because it is an amazing ability, but one that you can hear coming.
Yeah, you definitely can. I kind of think they should tone down the sounds in general. I don't think I should be able to hear gunfire as far away as I hear it. But that's an opinion thing. It might change gameplay for the worse if they actually do it. I don't know.
I like it, but I see your point for sure. I'm trying to think. At least they don't have the echoing effect off the canyon walls and stuff like that. There's an opportunity for them to really mess with our heads if they were to do it full on realistic, you know?
I mean, they already are. You can hear dinosaurs mooing in the ocean.
Well, I'm just saying reverb, though. I mean, honestly, a lot of those tall, stony canyon walls are going to bounce the sounds around. And so sometimes we may think it's coming from the east when it's actually coming more from the northeast or north.
Yeah,
right?
I don't want that.
I don't want that either. So, Respawn, you didn't hear anything I just said. It was no good, no bueno. It's all good.
All right.
Moving right along to number 5. So.
Keep your teammates in sight. You know,
that doesn't actually mean being able to see them, but it means like having them close enough that you know exactly where they are
and can get to them if you have to.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And that you're going to be able to communicate with each other effectively, not just by voice comms, but also by, when somebody points out or a ping or whatever else, you should be able to see what it is sort of that they're pinging as well. So just kind of you don't have to keep in sight, but close sight would be good.
Yeah, well, we'll bring up the example from earlier we're talking about in the tournament when I went up that zip line to the ship. Even though I was able to down one of them, my team wasn't able to take advantage of that because I was too far ahead of them.
Yeah, we didn't have the angle on it. We couldn't see into that. Of course, when you took the time to drop down on the other side, and then Octane dropped down with you. Of course, if I hadn't missed every single one of my shots on that guy, we could have had him.
Well, that's the guy I downed. I downed him off the ship. I downed him underneath. I was actually really proud of that. He had a peacekeeper, and I triple taked him at 2 meters. But I went down immediately after that. So
yeah, because they had high ground shooting down after that. Yeah.
But your point's solid. We didn't have the angle on it. If we had been if we'd been back a little farther up the hill, we would have been able to see into that and cover you as you went in. So Lursen could have been a lot more effective second man in if he'd been able to see in there already. So hindsight 2020 or whatever. No, it was a good move to push in. It was just we could have done with a little bit more line of sight in that case.
That is something when I used to play Pathfinder that I had to be very cautious of is once you get good at that grapple, you can move so much faster than your teammates. You kind of have to sprint ahead and then stop and wait.
I'm at that point now. I've gotten really good at the grapple, and in fact, my son sits and watches me play Apex, And I'll look over after a really good grapple because I know he's just shaking his head. He does all this. He's like, God, I hate you.
Yeah, you're like, you've turned into freaking Spider-Man. I swear to God, dude. It's pretty awesome. You just pop right up over a building. You're like, boop-a-doo. And I hit my head on the roof the whole time, every time I try to do Pathfinder. So good on you, buddy.
There's a really good YouTube video I watched. I wish I was prepared for this. I don't remember who did it, but talked about all the angles and everything that you have to hit, because I was telling my son that to get really good at grapple, it's not where you grapple. It's not exactly where you put the grapple. It's what you do once you've grappled. So you look away from the point in which you've grappled and where you want to go, and then swing around. And there's a whole science to it, and I absolutely love it. That's why Pathfinder is kind of my new main now. I dropped off Bloodhound because it's just so much fun.
Yeah, it's a blast.
And that had nothing to do with flanking. Although it has everything to do with flanking, right?
It does.
It does because the point being, you get really good at the grapple, and then you're a mile ahead of your teammates, and you cannot possibly have their backup if something goes down. So you can't keep them in your sights, which is point number 5.
Yeah, there you go. So
bringing it back.
Yeah, we did bring it all back. We got anything else to add? Because otherwise, I think it's time for us to do a recap on the 5 points, just real quick.
Cap it.
Nothing. Cap it. All right. So 5 elements of flanking in this is basically you got to identify the goal of flank, kill all the mans in this case. Pretty easy. Set up a distraction is point 2, right? It's not a flank if the enemy's paying attention to you. It's just a route. Point number 3, gear check. That means your explosives, your shields, all of it. Check to make sure that you're going to be capable of bringing the fire when you have to. Point number 4, figure out where the battle should be. Figure out where the battle is. I don't know. Just know where the line of battle is. And then finally, point number 5, hey, keep your teammates in sight. Sorta. At least close by. All right, so those are the 5 points or 5 different elements of flanking. Now we still had a third question. The third and final question that was part of Teddy's mega question is, when is it appropriate to stay tightly grouped? And I got to say, there's a general rule. We've talked a little bit about it just now. You can stay tightly grouped at the beginning of the game and towards the end of the game. But I think it's going to be even better to answer this question in a full episode on the movement of the squad itself.
Damn it, Teddy.
No, this is funny because I really did want to have a whole episode on small unit tactics and traversals, bounding, wedge formations, transitions through the rooms, all that stuff. And inherent in that is being able to understand when it's best to be tightly grouped and when it is best to disperse. So, because obviously, there's a bunch of rules that you can make up, but there's also some common sense BS. Don't make yourself subject to a single grenade, for instance. But there's a whole bunch of stuff to talk about for that. So we're going to come back around to this one.
Thanks for all the content, Teddy.
All right, so that wraps up our conversation, as we just said. But one of the things I wanted to call out to the guys in our community who helped inform our conversation tonight, and that's thanks to everybody, the 5 guys in particular who rogered up on the Discord, Zombie, Ark, Metal, Elmer, Teddy. Your thoughts were vital. Oh, yeah.
If you want to have some conversations with these awesome guys, join our Discord.
Outplayed.com.
Yeah, best way to find it.
Yeah. Okay, guys, let's take our final break. The Hammond P2020, or simply P2020, is a semi-automatic pistol manufactured by the Lastimosa Armory and is commonly available to competitors in the Apex games. It is a successor to its Frontier War ancestors, the P2011 and P2016. Much like its forebearers, the Hammond P2020 is a reliable sidearm with decent accuracy to complement its quick reload and match trigger, firing one shot as quickly as its user can pull the trigger. The P2020 incorporated many of the features of the P2016, which itself was upgraded from the older P2011. Key upgrades include modular barrels and sight mounts, as well as a variety of magazine sizes and customized grips. Catering to the commercial success of the Apex games, Lastimosa Armory now also offers the P2020 in a wide range of finishes. The P2020 is capable of expending up to 480 rounds per minute, or just under 8 rounds per second. Competent users can reload the sidearm in just 1 to 1.5 seconds when the chamber is clear. Its maximum optimal range for most users is between 20 and 28 meters. In the vernacular of the Apex games, it uses light ammo and can be modified with attachments for a close-range scope and an extended magazine. Because competitors in the Apex games are permitted to only carry 2 weapons at a time, the common expectation is that the pistol is an early-game weapon. This means that most competitors categorize the sidearm as something they can use the moment they land at the start of the game, but should expect to trade out for a stronger weapon down the road. Nonetheless, the P2020 rewards accuracy and, as its Frontier Wars users have long attested, highly effective in the right hands.
All right, everybody, this has been a BOD community podcast. My name is Flave.
And I'm Errik.
And I'm Lursen. If you like what you're hearing, let us know. You can find us at www.outplayed.com. There's no E in Outplayed.
Our music is by Fugly88. And hey, everybody, keep improving.